to talk about the vision of our church that was adopted by our church council in April of this year. I want you to take just a moment and close your eyes. I promise I won't come by and pick your pocket or anything. And I want you to think about, what was Katie like when you moved here? And what is it like today? And is it different? Yeah. I've been here for 4 years, and there's been so much growth that's been taking place that sometimes I just forget about it. I was driving with my son-in-law out to, I think it was Lowe's, and as he was talking with me, he said, "Is that a new building?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that's a new one." And in fact, this used to be a field where they raised longhorn cattle, and now there's all kinds of, restaurants and big box stores, things like that. And then we went along, and I said, "In those apartments over there, right next to 99, I said, "Those are built since I was here." And as we drove further to Fry Road, it was like, well, that's new, and that's new, and that's new. And all of that growth, what might seem random to us, was because somebody had a vision. Somebody had a vision of building a building or transferring an office here. There were those who had visions of building subdivisions, and people have been flocking to that vision, even though they may not know what the specific vision is. About 2 years ago, our Vibrant Church Initiative campaign kicked off, and one of the things, the prescriptions that we were given was to write what it is, our vision. How do we see our church in the next 5 years, not just our campus or facilities, but how do we see ourselves interacting with the community? And we had a vision writing team. We had met and discussed a lot of things about vision, and then we threw it over to a few people who wrote the vision, which you now have before you. You'll see it there. That's our vision statement. To be a welcoming and serving church that embraces the diversity of our community and the inclusion of all God's children, mobilized to address the specific needs of families, neighborhoods, and churches. And I want to know, can you see us doing that? Can you see us moving into that future? Now, we're not really going to, we're not rewriting the vision. We're not voting on the vision today, but rather our strategic planning team is taking this broad vision and beginning to kind of bring it down to earth, so to speak. How is it that we are going to accomplish these things, especially those that are bullet points? Who's going to be responsible for overseeing them? What's the timeline going to be in terms of 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, the next 90 days? What is it we're going to have to do to meet that vision? And so that's our purpose today, and the reason why you were given a handout sheet that has both the vision and the different areas that we are considering to develop out of our vision: transformation in our local schools, a discipleship pathway, leadership development, and embracing the diversity of our community. Mark's going to talk a little bit more about that, but as we move forward, we're here to get your input. And you've got a card there. We obviously can't pass a mic around. We would be here till probably 5 o'clock. But we do want you to write any of your ideas, things that have crossed your imagination, considering what the vision actually says. How can we make that vision possible, make it real? So Mark Kimbrough.
I could hear you in the other room. Does everyone have a vision sheet? Will y'all help pass these out? Okay. Here's a vision sheet, and Zach, if you'll help pass out some comment cards. Okay, so as they're passing those out, what all y'all can see in front of you is this top portion, which is our vision statement. That very first line, to be a welcoming and serving church that embraces the diversity of our community, the inclusion of all God's children, mobilized to address specific needs of families, neighborhoods, and schools. You know, that's what you see in the bulletin now, along with our mission statement, to make disciples for the transformation of the world. But you'll notice below that are some bullet points, and those bullet points are, as Dick was saying, because I could hear you in there, is moving from, the abstract and general language to more specific identity and a more specific vision. And so in part, we definitely have some specificity in mind with this. And I'll kind of walk through some of that and what that looks like. And then the rest of this sheet is part of what our strategic plan team will be working on. And so this isn't a finished product, what you see here. In fact, if you'll read through it, you'll notice, there's really not a lot of specificity in this yet. And that's because as part of why you're here today, next month, when we do this again, for anyone that missed it, based on the feedback that we get here today, we'll start filling some of this in. So we'll have a little bit more to hopefully point to as we come back to it. And then our hope is by October to have this filled in. And so what you would be able to see with this vision map is kind of part vision, part strategy. And so the top part is more your long-term, big picture, and then 4 or 5 big picture things that fit into that. And then that bottom part is kind of your rotational, all right, for the next short term, 90 days, 1 month, 1 year, what's the big thing that we want to hit as a church, and for a season focus on that so it fulfills this larger 3 to 5 year vision. So that, just to give you a feel for that and how this works, and I know some people you like language, some people you like something more specific and concrete, so that is the merger between both of these. I will quickly run through this because we promised this would be a shorter meeting, but I will say, when I came here to this church, obviously, as someone who did not grow up in the Katy community, I talked to many of you about what this community was all about, and a number of folks would tell me that part of the genius of the Katy community many years ago was that they invested into making their schools great. And because they made their schools great, we're all here. We got great schools. We've got grandparents who are moving out because their grandkids are growing up here. We got families moving out from closer into Houston because our schools are great. And in part, we knew that's an obvious strength of this church. It's an obvious strength of this community. It's a pillar of this community. The school district is. And so part of what we have been working on is going, you know what, we don't have to redefine the wheel. We just need to be able to accurately say, here are the strengths, and let's lean into those, and let's amplify those, and let's focus those a little bit more strongly over the next 3 to 5 years. So that as a church, we begin to not just have a bunch of ministries that do a lot of things, but a bunch of ministries that begin to focus in and move us forward. And of course, I know everyone is familiar with mission and vision statements, so you know that kind of information. What we, have identified, if you kind of read through this, seeing those top 4 bullet points, embracing and reflecting the diversity of our community through the inclusion of all people in ministry. In part, this church does that well. We have a great generational diversity. We, a little bit, reflect some of the racial diversity of our community, though, of course, we know that continues to get more and more diverse. But that word means a lot of things. And we want that to be, as any church, a reflection of where we live. That means we are being where we live. And so I'm embracing that. And we know that over the past past 5 years that I've been here, as Dick was saying, how quickly this community is growing and changing in front of our eyes. And so it's important for us that as we continue to move forward, that we just embrace that and embrace everyone having a place here. Awakening the gifts of all people for the good of others We believe that every one of us, one of your primary ways of growing in faith is when you begin to see your own giftedness, that God has put something in you. And as a church, if we're not awakening that in each other and then empowering that and putting that into play, I think that's one of the best ways we grow in our faith. Developing a comprehensive discipleship pathway from birth to adult. We do a lot of great discipleship work. It's a little bit shotgun style. We've got a lot of great Sunday schools and community groups. We want to better define that for a church, so when someone walks in who's brand new to faith or someone who's been in church forever, they have a way that they know, they feel like, okay, I'm moving, I'm growing. And I think in the past with Karen's help, we've had that before at this church, and it's been a strength. And over the years, that's probably leadership change. So we want a big part of our vision is defining that, putting that into place, so that as folks come into the church, they know where they're headed. We know where we're headed in their growth, in their walk with Christ. And then the last thing is empowering all people to be in ministry with and for children and youth. I will say we have received a little pushback here. And in part because I think for many folks, when they hear us, that means, oh, so you're only going to be thinking about young families or young kids, to maybe the neglect of our retirees or older folks, as if to say we're moving on and we're focused on it. And I will try to say, and I'll try to say it over and over again, and I hope you hear this, we don't believe that's true. In fact, what we're trying to say is, I think one of the best places for us to have ministry, because we are in Katy, because of the church we had, there is a door through our children and youth that we need all of the church to get on board with. Everyone to feel like these are, and Dick has said this over and over, these are our kids. Whether they're a kid in our children's or youth ministry, or whether they're a kid at Hutzel or Lindsay Elementary or any of our schools, to feel like, you know what? We have such an opportunity. And whether you're 99 or whether you're a really young kid, we all have a part to play. And I think there is something special, and I'm seeing my teachers in the room nodding, when you engage into the life of a kid, there is just something that changes in us. I think that's why Jesus talked about kids a lot. And so we know that that's just a great opportunity, and we want, again, we want to invite our church to go, what would it look like for the next 3 to 5 years? For us to hold up that group, and we all, whatever ministry we're in, we find a way to serve and to empower and to love our community through our children and youth. The reason I began, and Dick, you need to stop me when I get to 8 minutes. Yeah, I know. Okay, I'll wrap up. So what you'll see here, and this is why one of those integral parts is our local schools. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about that. If you follow us on social media, you notice we've been working in Hutzel and Lindsay this year, and we're really excited about those opportunities. If it made sense however many years ago for this community to invest into local schools and that to be a pillar of our community, why would it not make sense still today for us to go, aren't the schools still the place where, as a church, if we went there and we found a way to get into those places and found a way to serve and let them know we're here and we care for them and we love them, wouldn't it make sense? That's an obvious strength and place for this church to go, we're a welcoming, we're a serving community, and everyone belongs here. So many of you know we've been working in Hutzel, and many of y'all have been doing Hutzel work, and we're still doing that. This year, Hutzel is north of I-10. It captures a lot of you that live in this area of town. If we pulled up a map and I showed you the rest of our congregation, you would obviously notice a lot live south of I-10. And so we wanted another school that's more local for some of our church community, because we're not just 5601 Fifth Street. So fortunately, we've been able to get connected with Lindsay. It's not a Katy ISD, it's a Lamar ISD school. And the floodgates have been opening just in 2 weeks, in the opportunity where we can be there and showing people that we are here. We love you. And many of you that live in the Firethorn or Cross Creek Ranch, this is a school that's a little more in your neighborhood than maybe Hutzel is. So we've got 2 schools that we want to do that. And we believe, you know what, if we could help not only do that, but inspire some of our fellow local churches to see the schools as a place to make an impact, this would go much bigger than just us being in 1 or 2 schools. What if we could set a pattern in a way for many churches to go, we love what y'all are doing, help us do that somewhere else. And we can be a pioneer and a catalyst for many churches making an impact through our children and community. So that's one of those pieces. And one of those that in the short range, in the next year, I think we can focus a lot on because we've got a lot of momentum going there. And so we're going to be working through those things. All right, so that's a lot of information about our vision, where we're headed, what we want to do, why we're going in that direction. What we want to do is begin to spark the imagination within you. What would this look like? What's it mean for us to be a welcoming church? Yeah, we can smile and shake hands, but to be known for that. What's it be to be known for a church that, when we ask of Katie first, they come serving, not just in a small way, but in a big way? What's it mean for us to embrace our diversity better, even more so than where we are now? And so that's where we want to invite you and go, what's God speaking to you today? How's God sharing something that we're not seeing, that we could live into that in a more full and even a God-sized way than just Dick or I or our leadership team? So that's what this card is for. Hopefully maybe something sparking in you even now. So we encourage you to write some of those ideas, but in a little bit we'll walk through this. But I'll pause, turn it back over to Dick, and let you introduce our team.
Okay, thanks, Mark. And I just want to piggyback that we have been welcomed with open arms at Lindsay Elementary School in the Firethorn community. And that's a place where we need to be. I cannot tell you the overwhelming response of how happy they are that this church has made a decision to work there. And for good reason. We have a reputation of doing that kind of work. And that is something we're doing now, and we hope to build upon to reach that vision. I want to introduce our strategic planning team. If you guys would stand up. Chris Millette, wave, Chris. He is the chair of our committee and is leading us through this planning process. We have Billy Cook and April Vaden and Zach Cheeseman, Mark, and myself. We have over there Karen Morrison. Karen, does everybody know you? Pam Zavidny is in the red, and then we have Ben Middleton, and then we have Mary Lee Thomas, and we're so happy to have all of them do this very important work. But we need your help now, and so to give your input, your ideas, your love and prayers, whatever it is, we want to hear from you. So we're going to take just a little bit of time. You want to do that, Mark?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so on this card, I know this is some of you, you're marinators. I'm a marinator. I couldn't do this right quick. But what we'll do is we invite you to take a moment to write some stuff down here. We're going to take that up, and literally right after this meeting, all those folks that stood up, we're going to just cipher through this information and just get your immediate reaction and, again, start to put some more concreteness or imagination into this vision. So that first question there, if you haven't already, take a moment. What gets you excited about what we've shared today or what you read here? And that's fairly open-ended, so you can put whatever you want there. But just take a moment, write some information down there, and we'll give you a minute or two to do that, and then I'll go to that second question. Okay. You can keep writing if you need to. Look at that second question. What does this look like? And what I want you to do, I'm going to give you some of these words from our vision. I want you to write it on the word and then tell us what you think that could look like in its fullest, or maybe even a bigger God-sized view of it than what we currently have it. And so one of the things, two of the big words that we want to be known for is being a welcoming church and a serving church. So if you write the word welcoming on there, and then in your eye, in your mind, if we were a church that was welcoming and considering all of our community, the diversity of our community, what does it look like for you to be known as a church that welcomes all people in the diversity of our community here? What would you see that as what's the best vision of that you think we could begin to embody, or you hope that we would begin to embody? So write that word welcoming on there and try to put down a thought. As you're finishing that word up, the next word I want you to write is a serving church. What do you think it looks like, or what do you hope it would look like for us to be known in our community as that's a church that serves, that's a church that addresses the needs of families in our neighborhoods, our schools, our families? So write the word serving and do the same drill. Give us a picture of what you think that could look like in a more concrete way. All right. Our next one is going to focus on that line of empowering all people to be in ministry with and for children and youth. And everyone's voice is valuable here. However, I will say, those of you that are retirees and those that you are empty nesters, so those that maybe don't have any kids, your voice, I think, is really important because we want to make sure that you feel included. How do you hear that? And what vision do you see for us as a church if we began to really focus on our children and our youth in this school, in this community? How could we ignite something that really gets this church excited? And last will be the catch-all. Just reading through this, and of course we've already asked you to share what gets you excited about it, but just put general there, because this will. Is there anything in specific that you see here that you say, you know what, man, if we lived into that, I think it would really look like this specific thing. That would get our church excited. You may have something, you may not, and that's okay. And I will say in all of this, again, I'm a processor, so I need some time. Feel free to email this to Dick or myself, and we'll be able to share that with our team. And this is an ongoing process. So we really want the church to know that you are a part of this. This isn't just a top-down thing. We want to set the course, but this is all of us together. So your voice matters. So is there anything just in general that you hear in this vision that you think it looks like something that's exciting to you?
It's literally like a prayer chain, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so excited about the future of this congregation. We have a great church, and I think God has given us a really broad vision of how we can lean into our community. I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. So let us pray. Gracious God, we know that you have called all people to be in your church. Not just this church, but in all churches everywhere and every time and in every place. We know that the work that we do is holy work, and that you have sent us to be that light to the world, a people that incarnates the love of Christ. And so I ask that as we move forward, you would continue to receive our prayers, the prayers of all your people, that you would guide and direct us and direct this strategic planning team, for we truly do want to seek and do your will. So bless us now as we go to our homes and our restaurants and whatever we've got to do for the rest of the day. For this we pray in Christ's holy name. Amen.